Hey guys, welcome back to Earthit. Hope all of you are safe and healthy. I tried Lippan art for the first time in my life. This one is a fusion art form inspired from mandala art. So I'll be using majorly texture paste and Lippan art paste for this artwork. So let's begin. I'm using a 12-inch dia MDF baseboard. I've just created a very radial reference pattern over here. Now we'll prepare texture paste. We'll be using white cement and Fevicol for that. You can also check out my video on how to prepare texture paste and gesso in home in the icon above. So let's get back to this video. You can also use ready-made texture paste if you have it available. Now in order to prepare this, you need a little amount of water. It has to be smooth. It has to be more on the consistency of your toothpaste. Now we'll be using a stencil. This one is from Itsy Bitsy. It's a stencil of a mandala. We'll be using palette knife to just smear the pattern on top of it or smear the texture paste on top of the stencil and make sure the surface is a little even, scoop out the extra texture paste so that while you remove it, it's more on even lines. Look at how beautiful this pattern is. I'm already in love with this pattern. Now I'm going to do the same throughout the edges. To the edge of the base, I'm going to trace out the same mandala pattern with texture paste. Now let's get on preparing the Lippan art paste. For that, again, we'll be using white cement. We have other materials as well, but for the first option, we'll be using white cement. And if you're going to use 1 part of white cement, use 3/4 part of glue and add oil. So oil is the secret ingredient because when white cement is exposed to air and when it's exposed to water, it starts getting hardened, it starts getting cracked. So you find air cracks in your Lippan art, especially when it's mixed with water. And one more tip is you do not add powder again and again. If you're not satisfied enough with your mixture, add both binding material and the base compound together, because else you're definitely going to develop a lot of air cracks. This is the first time of me preparing a cone. Yes, a little messed up, but yes, I successfully prepared. The first task was completed. This cone is basically prepared from the milk packets. You can also use plastic sheets. Pretty much satisfied with the effect of how it was coming through the cone. If you're a beginner, make sure that the layer is a little thick, or you can also try the artwork will be more evidently seen, and once you practice, you can go for more intricate patterns, and just like how we practice our mehendi. Now for the second material, we'll be using chalk powder. We'll be using the same amount of chalk powder and we'll be using the same amount of Fevicol for this as well. Start mixing. You do not have to add oil for chalk powder because chalk powder is a really good material or a base material. It doesn't crack easily. We'll be using a ziplock over here. I have cut an angle cut, as you could see, and make sure to seal it a little tight. And I was pretty much satisfied with the way the chalk powder cone worked out. So yes, it was good. The beige ones over here are from chalk powder and the white ones over here are from texture paste. In order to prepare the base color, I would be using turquoise blue and pale emerald. You can also mix white and you can also try out different combinations and different color combinations, but this one is my favorite. So let me show you the color palette which I'm going to use today. I'll be using 1 layer of the turquoise blue and then smudge it with pale emerald, and then it'll be raw pale emerald. So that's how my color palette for this particular artwork is going to be. You can start smudging while the paint is wet, so that will give a very neat and a very seamless effect. This is how the color palette for the artwork is going to look. So I had already given a base coat of turquoise blue. Now I have mixed equal amounts of turquoise blue and pale emerald to it. I'm going to just start smudging with a dry brush. This is a very, very dry brush. You do not add water in this stage, else it wouldn't blend well. Just smudge it really dry and make sure that you do not give too much pressure on top of your Lippan art pattern, because else it's going to break out. Sometimes people don't prefer coloring the Lippan art itself. They kind of keep it raw, just like how I mentioned in the chalk color. They kind of keep it raw. So you can either work on your base and then just give a top lining of your Lippan art, or you can also work in the way I am working over here right now. So pretty much done with the base color palette over here. Now let's move on to the next step, which is adding mirrors. So Lippan art is a famous art form, and they use mud and they use mirrors to highlight their wall designs. It's a beautiful artwork. If you're going to visit Gujarat, or if you have any ethnic places or villages, you could still find these types of artworks in different places. So for this particular artwork, I'll be using circular and diamond shaped mirrors. I would suggest you guys not to use too many shapes of mirrors in one single artwork, else it will be like very chaotic. Use 1 or 2 at the max, and that's my personal opinion, of course. So I'm going to add a little amount of detailing over here as well. Overall, I kind of like it. I hope you guys like it as well. The edges were looking a little pale, so again I added a little more of mirrors, and to finally highlight them, you can use silver dust. I'm using silver dust mixed with medium over here. You can use different combinations, and yes, one important thing is before you add these mirrors, add a layer of varnish to your base color. That way it's going to last extremely long. I think I gave a good amount of tip in this video, so meet you guys in the next video. Until then, namaste.